Hello guys, how are you? Today we have a very interesting guest. Now I'm actually sending her a request. So wait a little bit, please. Oh, okay. Renaria, I see your request. I press accept. Oh, hello. I'm
Hello.
here again.
We can see each other. You can see me.
Yeah, yeah. Now I see you, and your tip about device reboot works excellent.
Another thing I
So
heard that works is going to the camera and turning it on and off during the live, but we didn't have to do that, so yay for
yeah,
us.
now it's excellent. Look, I have read your book because first when we met, we just met actually, and I started to read it. I was impressed already, but I haven't finished it yet. But now, a couple of weeks ago, I did that. And I first thing I want to say that I'm very grateful to you because usually I say that I'm impressed, it's a great book and so on, but that's all true. But first of all, I want to say that I'm grateful because it was really very personal. I don't know, I had such a feeling that you just got into my head, into my heart, and explained to me what I felt in some periods of my life. It's really absolutely amazing.
Wow.
But I want to, I have some questions regarding this book for later. And now I want to say that usually the authors and the readers live like in different time dimensions. So when someone, for example, is telling me that, you know, I'm now reading your book number one, and this character, he's so great. Oh, I love that guy. I want to say, he's dead already. Because
Yeah.
I'm writing book number three right now, and I'm like a little bit in
Yeah.
different place with this
Yes.
book.
Yes. I understand.
So
Yeah.
I know that you are now working on other projects and to connect better. Please first tell us a couple of words about your poetry memoir, right?
Yes.
And about your song. If of course, if you wish, of course, if it's time to share with this,
Okay.
I'm.
I'll try to explain. A lot would be brief, but not say too much. Um, so, of course, I have the first book, Scar City. That was the first one, and that one is actually free right now on Amazon all weekend. And then the second book, Thunder, the one we're talking about, is the one that you have recently finished reading. So, thank you so much for that. Like you, it made my day when you wrote the review, but and sent it to me. But since then, I just really felt like, that's such a gift. So thank you so very much. And so for the third book, I believe I sent you an excerpt of that. I kind of put it on pause. And I think it's because I'm maybe not ready. I feel like I am because I've already started writing about it. But the third book is a continuation, I guess it will be, um, of Thunder. So I don't know if you remember in the book, I say it wasn't the end and it wasn't over yet. And there's still
Yeah.
more I have to tell you. That's what that was. And so I don't want to get into too much about what it's about because if you've ever read either one of my books, you'll know, you know.
Mhm.
But Thunder is basically an expose of one of the poems in my first book, Scar City. So if you read Star City, there's a poem and it's titled Thunder, and so that's what the second book was. So, but the third one, similar subject, theme, still memoir. As long as I have a story to tell, I think that's the style for me. But and then the music project, it's almost complete. It's a song I'm working on, and I'm collaborating with um, two other people, and one is an artist who already has some songs out, and so is an artist. And that in itself was, I think, I needed that because finding your voice and talking about it and writing about it is one thing, but actually singing was something that I couldn't do for many years. I literally couldn't, you know, use my voice in
Mhm.
that way. So talking about it, over the last 3, 4 years has helped me to understand more, I guess, how to express it because I've relived it in my mind now and I can see it now. But singing was a challenge, and so that's why, if you combine writing, poetry, whatever you want, and then if you write something or you have something that could be a song, I mean, why not, right? And so that in itself was a healing experience. So that's how I want to go in this journey. It's just kind of, it's organic, and whatever happens, you know, um, as long as it feels right and it's not forced. But nothing is planned, and that's the thing about it. That as you were saying about the book, um, how you're ahead now, and now you look back on what you wrote, and sometimes you go, wow, I was in a different place when I wrote that, right? I feel that way about my books too. So I'm curious to know the questions you have about.
Maybe uh, these are not questions. In these are not questions. These are just my emotions.
Okay,
I
that's perfect. Mhm.
prepared well to this live for this time, and I, have some quotes from your book. I wrote down four sentences that impressed me very much, and I even not for it seems that six or even
Okay.
more, and twice I cried because I even couldn't explain to myself why I'm crying, but these were kind of healing tears, so to say. But first
Okay.
of all, I want to quote such fragments from your book. I tried to put it all behind because it's what we do, isn't it? We park it and move on. It
Mm.
impressed me because it's me who who does this way, and I think that majority of people do so.
Yeah.
And the next phrase, it just it's so powerful. I can't even explain. It just impressed me in enormous way. Healing requires effort, but not as much as suppressing does.
Mm. Suppressing it. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because we, not we, I will not talk about some we, I will talk only about myself because it's my way, and maybe it's a subconscious way of each person. When we are hurt, we are trying just to do, I don't remember it, I don't want to think about it, don't want to talk about it, and so on. And maybe it feels better for first time, but then you understand that you are trying to hold some monster inside
Yes.
yourself,
But no
hurt
one
monster.
tells you that it's okay to deal with it, though. Everyone expects you to dust yourself off and move on. And because they say, well, it's already happened now, they don't know how to deal with that. But that's why it's important years later, even whenever, to go back to it, because now enough time has gone by. And now you can look at it almost objectively. It's hard to do that when it's for yourself, but that's what I mean. At the time, it's a way, it's a coping, it's a survival mechanism, I believe, because we can't just sit there in it. We have to keep it moving. Life goes on. But it would help if people understood, the trauma, or whatever it is that you just experienced, that you're going to have to deal with that at some point. And I strongly believe, this is my opinion, I'm not an expert on this, everyone has trauma. Everyone has some unresolved trauma. And everyone tries to think of it in a sense of like, oh, mine's on this level or not as bad as that. Or But it's all the same when it comes to this, all these things that we don't deal with, they stay there. And like you said, they become monsters and demons and we carry them. And I don't know if you saw something I posted a few days ago, but it was about demons. They're ours. They don't, you know what I mean? Like most of the demons that we carry within us they belong to us now and we choose to keep them there and we can't get rid of them. We don't know how, but that's because we're afraid to look at them. We're afraid to own them. We're ashamed of them. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I guess the purpose of these books have been. And so it gives me great joy to know that it hit you that way. Because the last thing I want is for someone to read this and say they feel bad for me. I don't want that. I'm grateful when people do feel bad or feel sympathy, but I want it to reach someone else in that way. And I didn't think it would. So the fact that it does is a wonderful gift. So I really thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that I cried a lot while reading your book, but you know, it was like um, these tears were my healing, and I felt like I am sitting in the burning house, which is inside my
Mm,
soul, and I just see someone's back who is moving on, who is going
interesting.
out of
Interesting.
this house, who is not sitting there around of me, who is not crying and like
Yeah. But how can we move on
running.
from it? How can we move
Yeah,
on from it if we don't step outside of it and look at it?
yeah, and I
Like, yeah, I think
saw
that's
your
great. Yeah.
I saw your back in good sense of this word,
Yeah.
uh, back of a human being who is moving out of this nightmare and showing way for me. Not like from the position I'm great psychologist, I'm now
Oh.
showing how to do, by just living your life, by just authentic, genuine talk, words, poems about this state. I don't know. Some time ago, our maybe I don't know, 200 or 500 years ago, people believed in that we can say some words and, for example, heal our wound. And there were such doctors from our ancestors, yes, and
Yes.
they
Yeah.
did that. I don't know. I'm, like I have some years of university. I'm clever and I don't believe, but somewhere deep inside, I believe that words have this healing
Uh-huh.
possibility, healing ability, and
Yes.
they just um, like switch something inside your soul. And when this demon which is who is living inside your soul is described precisely by some words, not yours, maybe by words of your poems, by words in some film, in some book, you are feeling more free of of it,
Oh,
of
you're less
him.
alone. You're less alone, but it's the relatability, I think. That's
Yeah,
what it is. It's like, didn't you always feel alone with that stuff in your mind? Because otherwise we would talk about it, I think.
yeah,
So
I
I
think.
honestly believed that I was alone in this. Like I believed that most people had experienced stuff like that, so I didn't feel different in that way. But I also felt like my experiences were too shameful to talk about, and therefore I should not talk about them. So when you don't talk about them, then nobody knows but you. So it's all inside of you and you carry it. And the more you get used to not talking about it, it's just easier, I think. But it's not in the long run, right? I think that's what it is. Like you eventually have to look at it, It's yeah. Yeah,
I
I'm glad it hit you that way.
absolutely agree with you that we feel alone. Again, I'm just sharing my experience. I felt like I am living behind, such in such stone castle.
Mm,
But then I understood that this castle was not built by someone; it was built by me. And when I just choose to go away and to connect with other people and to talk about this, And
Yeah.
immediately I understand that I'm not alone in this world, but I was alone in this castle because it was my previous choice to sit there and to be alone, so to say.
It's safe. It's
Maybe
safer.
it, maybe it's not, yeah, it's safer. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not, it's also the part of this safety mechanism of our psycho that must be safe and alone for some time. But
Yeah.
when this stage is too long, that's bad for me.
Yeah. Yeah. They multiply, I
Yeah,
think. The
yeah.
monsters. Yeah. Yeah. The
Monsters
anxiety
have
and yeah.
such ability. And then I also wanted to say that I was highly impressed, and it was great, like portion of optimism for me when I read how you are talking about your husband, because it is such great. I don't know what such a great shadow inside maybe my mind also, or when you have bad relationships, for example, or don't have
Yeah.
any, and you just, it seems that it will always be like that,
Mm.
that you have no chance. Or when you are sick, for example, it seems to me that you will always be sick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
And
And then you try again and you get sick again, or you try again in love and it doesn't work out. So you do this over and over and over again to a point where you go, it's never going to happen.
yeah.
But it does happen, and it does happen for some people. And I think it's about opening up your mind um, to what is good for you and also what your patterns are. Because that's the good thing about repeating things, even if they're not good, you can actually see them now. Now you see the pattern. And it's like that for most things in life, I think. But we choose to ignore those, just like we choose to ignore the demons and right, the monsters or whatever. But that's how I feel about that. I really think that it's about recognizing where you're going wrong, or where it's not going in your favor, I guess. It's always a gamble with people. But yeah, we do. We talked about this the last time we talked about who we surround ourselves with. And I think to clarify that more, I think what I meant more by that is that we choose a lot of the people we're around. But the other thing is that I think we're afraid to decline certain company or to refuse or to, you know what I mean? And so I think for me, that's what I'm doing these days is I'm surrounding myself with people who have that light, who have that desire to be around. And if they don't, then it's been proven to me time and time again, that if anything is forced, it does nothing comes good comes out of that, right? So that's a big thing there. And then within your circle of light, well, they also have circles of light, and that spreads and that becomes stronger. So I think a lot of it is about being very selective about who you can choose to have around you. Yeah. So and then the love side of it, I think that kind of falls into place as well without it being forced either. Yeah.
Everything multiplies.
I believe that. Yeah.
Demons can multiply and light can
There
multiply
is
as well.
exactly. There's a balance to everything.
Right. And I want to say that this refusing is a great struggle for me as well, because I was, like brought up like a good girl, nice girl, who never refuses, who never say no, because if you say no, you can disappoint someone and all
Mm,
that stuff. It's good when you have when you are 5 years old, and your, I don't know, parents, people who
yes.
bring you up just want to to have easy life,
Yeah.
not to struggle with you every time. But
Yeah.
when you grow up, it's a tragedy, real tragedy, because you can't say no to anyone.
Yeah. Oh,
You
and
don't have
you
this.
never feel good enough. I think that's another
Absolutely, because
thing. Yeah.
how will you refuse? And then this this trait of character
Yeah.
becomes a great, like a great stone on your heart, and you are not happy when you say
That's
no, and you are not
true.
happy when you say yes.
Yeah.
You are just like,
Yeah.
and to find this balance in life, it's really very difficult for me. I'm
Yeah.
looking for it. I will not say that I found it and everything is okay. I'm in process. And I found such phrase about relationships and balance in your book that I was absolutely shocked how brief you were and how precise this phrase is. And this phrase was, he saved me by simply being present. He saved me by giving me the strength to stand and do what I needed to do to save myself.
Oh, you're making me
So,
cry.
from the from the one side, we are all looking for some Harry Potter in our
Yeah.
life who will do like this, and
Or Prince
we will be
Charming,
happy.
or Prince Charming. Like,
Yeah,
it's not,
yeah,
that's not
yeah,
real.
yeah.
That's not real. You
And
have to own up to it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And when we are disappointed with this Harry Potter,
Yeah.
we start to go like, I am, Iron Lady. I don't need anyone. I am all by myself, and so on. And these are like two different states, but none of them is correct.
Yeah.
But what you said, it was 10 steps before, behind my understanding, and it was so precise. I'm grateful for this phrase for you
Thank
because
you. Thank you.
partner
Yeah.
is needed. He is important or she is important, but to heal is your responsibility. You need to do your
Yeah.
healing. How can you comment on this? What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I wanted to go back to what you were talking about how people pleasing and that kind of thing. And one of the micros in the book, this one is the number 13,
Mhm.
and it's we were told, and it's we were told to say no while being disciplined to please. And so when you think about that, when you talked about childhood earlier, it's confusing. It's confusing because there's all this like just say no stuff, right? And all this, but then go bring this elder their cup of tea, like you're serving, literally serving people, right? Or something like that. And so where do we make that distinction? So when we become older and we get into relationships, so to go back to what you were just reading, about relationships and that kind of thing, um, I wanted to be in a relationship where I didn't feel like I was there to serve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't know who I was. And I felt very ashamed and very, um, I don't know. My confidence level was very low at that time. And so, for the context of the timeline for that, when in the book, that this is probably, the late 90s, 97, 98. Um, so, way back then, I was reflecting on that when I wrote that. And he saw me. And for years, I said that about him, that at the time, I told him everything. When I met him, I told him everything. And over the years, I told him more, details. And so he knew everything before I wrote about this. But that's my point, is that I knew he saw me, he saw something, and he stuck by me before I could even see it. And I think that I wrote that in the memoir as well. I really honestly couldn't until about a few years ago when I wrote the first book. So I think finding someone who sees you before you even see yourself, that's all you need, just as far as you need to go. Because they already love you for who you are, or they see the potential, but they don't force it upon you or expect you to be someone else than who you are right now. And that's what I needed. And that's why I think when we go into relationships, where immediately it's fulfilling in some ways, that's why it doesn't last, because we're trying to be someone else, or we're trying to be who they want us to be or who we're not. And if you can really strip down, everything about yourself, in front of someone and they still want to be there and they see something in you, it gives you that hope that maybe you're not as messed up as they say you are or as who you believe, starting to believe you are. So that's how I lived for many, many years, but having that support of someone um, who didn't just see the negative, I guess, has been what has led me to here now and being able to speak on it. I never thought I would be able to do this, honestly. For decades, I couldn't say anything about this. Nothing. It was just, it was, it was forgotten. Well, I tried to, and so yeah. So that's where I am now, I guess. And so you can't really, nothing is nothing is guaranteed. It's all a gamble, just like writing. Oh, you write books, you know that. When you put a book out there, you have no idea if some people are going to like it or not, you know. So that's what a
Yeah.
relationship I feel is like. You put your best out there, and you hope that they read it right, you know, and that you can read them too. Yeah.
And sometimes books are real magic because you write two books and you think this one will not be loved by readers because it is like too personal,
Yeah.
too maybe
Yeah.
boring. Oh no.
Yeah.
And this is commercial project, we will rock you, but not. It is quite opposite, or sometimes none of your books is popular. And I recently heard such a beautiful interview by Rick Rubin. He said that, of course, this interview was about music, about musicians, but I think that it was about every person on this earth.
Wow.
And he said that I think that I'm very successful musician, but I don't understand success like you understand it. For me, success is not amount of dollars I possess or amount of listeners or amount of fans. Success is when I finish my song at night and it touched my heart,
Mm.
my heart, no one else's.
Oh, yeah.
I am successful musician this moment. What will be next day? Will I release this song or not? Will people like it or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
I write music and I'm a producer for 40, okay, for 40 years already, but I still don't know what people will like and what will they
No,
not
and I
like.
think if
So
you, I think if you write it for people, it's not necessarily going to work
yeah, yeah,
as well either, right? So it's, I think that people who call themselves like famous or artists or whatever, it takes away from when people choose to call them that, in my personal
yeah,
opinion, because that's not I want, who I'm intending to be personally myself. Like even saying I'm a writer is kind of feels a little bit out there for me. I just write this stuff because it feels healing and it feels right, and I felt like maybe some people could relate to it. That's it, really. And so the fact that you did what you just said to me about that artist, I'll call him an artist because he is. Um, that's what it is. It's like I don't know. I didn't never want it more than this, you know? So anything else would be a complete surprise. But um I think that's what kind of makes it more random. It's like photos, you know, like taking a candid shot is always better than something planned in my mind. And so that's why I choose to write that way. But I think as soon as you start to write it in mind with, of course, I formatted the book in my, you have to follow formulas with things, right? You have to do that. But when I wrote this stuff, it was really just kind of a conversation with myself, and I'm glad that you felt that. And but you related it, you know, you saw yourself in it, and that is what you were saying about it spreads, right? And that's what I love about that the most. Yeah, that
yeah.
it's a good spread. You know, it's not a yeah.
It's a very good spread, and I also want to say that maybe our goal like artists is really to touch to make this conversation with ourselves, and it's
I think so.
when it is genuine, when it is calm and good, it's all we can do for this
Yeah.
world and for ourselves.
Yeah.
And if someone, let it be one soul more, is connected, that's great.
Yeah.
But even if no, that's great too. Because,
Yes. But don't you have a hard time with the way that sometimes things are written? Like when people tell you what to do or how to do it, and that, this is the way and these are the steps and this is, I find it's more difficult to it's kind of like when someone says, watch this Netflix show. It's amazing. And you're like, oh man. You know what I mean? Like you almost have
yeah.
to trick people into reading something or watching something. And that's, yeah. So I don't really know where I'm going with that. But I like random stuff. And I like when it hits or it reaches someone randomly, like it did with you and I. And so that's
Yeah.
important, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Want to say that yes, I have had times with my books too, but I now I separate this long and complicated process in different stages. For example, writing, publishing, editing, publishing, and marketing. And
Yeah.
I have really hard times with marketing because it's not who I am.
I
I
know, I
need
agree.
to.
Me too.
I need to, grab you and tell you, sit down and read my
It
book
feels
because
it
it's
feels
great. It's
it feels non-consensual. It
but
feels non-consensual. It
but
does. It feels like you're forcing it on someone. But you have to.
yeah, yeah,
How are they going to know it's there? How? If you don't,
because
you know.
when I am artist, when I am selling my own, so to say, art, right, my own book, truth is that when someone, for example, meets me and says, are your books good
Yeah.
or bad?
Uh-huh.
Truth is, I
Whoa.
don't know. I have no clue if it's good or bad for you.
Maybe someone
Because
should read a book and find out on their own.
yeah, because it's really it's very connect with book is just
Yeah.
like to connect with a human being
Yeah.
for me. So
It's an individual,
so
yeah, thing.
it's
Yeah.
very individual.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Okay.
the last I have two more
Yeah.
quotes.
Okay,
Do you have time?
I'm gonna listen. Okay.
Okay. Um, these are two quotes. After them, I cried.
Mm,
First
okay.
is very short. Goodbye, Thunder. I don't know why. I was just whole in tears. I don't. And these tears were very sweet. Not very sweet, okay, but they were just sweet, normal
I
tears
get what you're
because
saying. Yeah. Yeah.
I I
Almost like
felt that
relief. Like relief.
if we return to this metaphor of burning house, I
Yeah.
saw opened door when I read these words. They were great
Oh
and
yeah.
very important for me. Um, what do you feel the same? Did you feel the same while writing this, or maybe this means some different for you?
No, it was time. It was time to write it. And that's why I wrote that at that time. That was the I think that was the epilogue, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
it was somewhere in the end.
and that's why I have an epilogue A and B, because I felt like that was important, to not like in anger or anything like that with that situation. But that's why I waited this long to write about it, because I wasn't ready yet. And so when I did write it, I was ready. So when I was writing it actively, when I said that, goodbye, Thunder, we're done, I meant it. And it was like when the book was published, I felt it. I felt it like I felt that door, that open door that you're describing. I felt it, and now it's still there because I used to fear seeing him out because used to see him so much, for 2 years, right? And you wouldn't expect it, and then it would happen. So for for years and years and years, I feared not necessarily him, but I feared seeing him because that would mean that I would be back in that situation. Um, I also feared that he wanted to finish what he had started. So not to reveal too much about the book, but
Yeah.
um, that added to it, the fear. And so now I don't feel that way. I felt like once I could tell the story, I would be able to release some of that paranoia and anxiety, and it really did. It really did do that. Because what am I going to do? Like I can't just hide for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel ready now. Like I don't feel like a victim now. Now I feel like if I did see him, I wouldn't react the same way. It's a completely different. My mind has shifted. Yeah. Back then, though, it was like cowering. It was like taking benzodiazepines. To calm myself down as he's looking at me across the street, looking in my window. Like it was that intense, and so it's hard to get out of that mindset, but it is, and I'm not blaming victims or people who are victimized over and over and over again, and you kind of
Yeah.
become silent or numb or you're quiet or you just take it or whatever, right? That happens a lot with trauma. Um, but yeah, now I'm in a different place. Yeah, now yeah, yeah. And I did, don't I say that it won't happen again? Um, I think it's at the beginning of the first part of the book where I describe it and I say, I'll tell you one thing, it's not going to happen again. Um, and so in my mind, I had made up my mind that when I was writing it, that was the release that I needed. But you have to be ready for it. So that's also a thing, timing, right? But yeah.
Yeah. So, these words are like rather simple, but when you read this book to the end, read this story to the end, they are not simple at all. They are very,
Mm.
like, really some magic words for me. And these are also the words of hope
Yeah.
that you can shift your mind, as you said. You can walk out this door and never get back again.
Yeah.
And the last, I uh, loved your uh, poem, which that is called "Love Is," and also I cried while reading it, and after I understood why, what is
Okay.
so
Tell me.
different and special for me in this poem. So if you
Okay.
don't mind, I will read
Yes.
it.
Okay.
When you love, you do things because you want to. When you are loved, the things you do are not expected from you. Free will is love, and love does not take from you. Love does not restrict, control, or oppress you. Love is how you move. Love moves through you. Love moves you as you love, and love moves with you. Um, for me, it is description of what we have out this burning house. When we are out already, when we are safe,
Yeah.
what what's next, so to say. And
Yeah.
again, your words are very precise for me. It is like a formula of mathematician who
Ooh,
tells
I like that.
everything he needs to tell and doesn't tell odd things, just exactly what is needed. And when I read this poem, I understood something very special about my life. When I read these words, when you are loved, the things you do are not expected from you. I understood that no one loved me before. Maybe not no one. Okay, my mom loved me and loved me, but
Yeah.
people who told me, I love you, and that's why you must do this and that,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
they really didn't love me at all, and maybe they didn't love anyone, they didn't love themselves, but these are not my problems, of course, and they just used this holy word, love, to manipulate, and that's all. And when I understood this, really, I understood this while reading your book.
Wow.
I felt like, something was broken inside my, don't know, heart, soul, and something was built again, but in a new way. So it's really great, because when we are born in some pattern and we are raised in some pattern, and we are taught that love is this and that, and if you are not acting like I want, it means that you don't love me, it means that
Right,
I will
right,
don't
right.
love you.
Yeah.
And this manipulation from each side, and you are very numb, and you
Yes.
don't know what's truth, what's not. And when you read this instruction, I will call your poem an
The love
instruction,
formula.
yeah, formula, and
The love.
then
But yeah.
yeah.
Um,
So thank you again for that.
Thank you. I just wanted to say about that sometimes all you need is to know that you have that it's out there, right? Because your experiences are so negative sometimes that you don't know it's out there. And once you start to believe that you're worth, just to know that you have some worth, then you start to see it more when they don't really mean it. When they say they love you, but they don't, because your gut, I'm sure you always knew at some point. Sometimes people say these things and they actually, I think they don't even know they're lying to you at the time. So it's very difficult to know. And people are patient, right? The demons, they're patient. So that's another thing that's confusing for us, because we're like, well, they stick around. They must love us, or and so that's what I think we have to realize is our worth. And this is what I'm working on recently, which is with everyone, whatever it is. It could be a friend, it could be family, whatever. If I'm engaging with someone, whether it be in person, by phone, by text, whatever, if it is not right to me, if it feels like, I don't know, I can choose to distance myself from people now, and I can also say to people what it is that I require, right? And if they can't, these are my boundaries, or these are my rules, whatever you want it to be. But I didn't know that I had a right to that before, right? And so when people take from you and you don't have any walls, any boundaries, or anything, they still took from you. They still probably even violated you. But just starting with telling them this will not be accepted, this is not something that is going to happen in whatever shape or form. It doesn't have to be in sexual nature or anything like that. Just for everything, we have the right to refuse any type of treatment, and we don't have to explain why either, even if it just doesn't feel right to us. You could be engaged in that behavior, you could be engaged to that person, and you can still change your mind. You could still go, hey, well, wait, now this is a new one. You know what I mean? And I think that that's when we start to surround ourselves more with people, the ones who stick around, even when we do have those boundaries. I think this, I can't remember the quote exactly, but it was like, you know, um, something about raise your boundaries and watch them drop. People go away, right?
Yeah,
So that tells you something, doesn't it? When you start to tell people no, when you start to tell people these are my, this is my house. You see? And
yeah.
if you want to be in it, I would love to have you in it, but I have to have rules. And so I didn't really have much of those before, and so it's harder to actually stand up for yourself when you haven't given the person any idea of what it is that they've done, or that they've tried to do, or whatever, because you just never, it's hard. Sometimes people do take advantage no matter what, but sometimes a little direction, a little bit of communication, yeah. But you're worth this love. And even if it's not from everyone, not everyone's going to love us. We don't love everybody, right? And so we don't like everybody. So they're not all going to like us. And so it's okay if somebody doesn't like you or me, then we don't hang out with those people because then they're not it's not going to be healthy. So that's okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. And this a great topic, by the way, about refusing people. Maybe it's even topic for another
Yes.
life. I hope that we
I hope
don't
yes, we
see
will
each other for
definitely.
that
Yeah.
time, because really that's
Yeah.
great. I heard a very good phrase from some coach who is about all this relationship and so on. But I think that it is also about not only romantic relationships, but about even business work and whatever.
Yeah.
He said that to some particular person, your relationships with him are based on the principle that you always say yes. Try to tell
Mm.
no once, and you will see what happens. And I realized that when I am also now on this stage of learning this word no,
Yes.
or I don't want, or it's not acceptable, and so on. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I lost some of my friends, or so to say, people I used to call friends,
Yeah.
because of that, because they were used to my yeses, and when I started to tell for myself to say no, to say that you cannot treat me like that, it was very funny, but they thought that it was betrayal from my side, that
Ah,
I betrayed them, that I am very strange now, that what's wrong with
Alex,
you? And
I'm going to tell you
so,
something real quick. You lost nothing and no one. You
yeah,
have gained. You have gained. Please, this is where you start with your worth. I'm so happy that you did that. And I want you to see that. I know you said you lost, but I can see it. You know that you can't change people. You
yeah,
can't control people. You can't control things, but you can control yourself and you can control what you accept in your life, what you take in. And so if people want to get mad at that, that's even more reason to be happy that they're not in your life anymore. You know what I mean? That's not on you. That's on them. That's on them. And so I want you to remember, please remember that you did not lose anything by standing up for yourself. And I hope that your life is more peaceful. I hope
of
it was,
course, sure.
there you go.
First moments after this, so to say, loss, it's like panic because it's something strange and new. How will I survive without this particular person? But
Yeah.
the next moment is that I
Yeah.
survived and
No
feels
more of the text
great.
messaging, the phone calls you don't want to have, listening to the things, like or having to avoid people, right? You don't have to, you know? I mean, sometimes, yes, we talked about this on the first live. There are sometimes, especially if you're younger,
Hmm.
you don't have as much control with your surroundings, and the people who are in it. But as I'm getting older now, and now I'm going to tell you a secret about my age. I'm going to be, my birthday's coming up, and I'm going to be 50. And I think that has changed my way of thinking in terms of it's not about what I've learned thus far, I think. I think it's what I've learned to let go and not worry about anymore, or just put aside, not carry. Like, why? And to live for the moment because, like, I mean, I'm probably at least halfway through, my life, if you want to talk about, formulas and statistics and all this stuff, right? So, why would I waste my time, on these things or even people who don't really want to be there? And even if they don't know it, if I know it, then I have the right to cut off whoever I want. And everybody else has that right too. So we can't take it personally if they do it to us. It's a favor. It really is. It really is. You don't have to have a lot of people in your life, but if you have just a couple, right? If you're lucky, you'll have one or two at least, and the circle will grow. And if it doesn't, at least you don't have the demons and the darkness, invading your life when you have a choice, right? That's, I think, is the worst thing, is when you don't know it. and you stay in it. So I think that's a wonderful step, Alex. I think that yeah,
Yeah,
I'm so happy
for
that
all of us.
yeah, yeah, for yeah.
Okay, Renaria, I thank you so much that
Thank
you
you.
were together with me. I don't regard this like, some live, some commercial thing. For me, it's
No,
just like personal talk
for
about
sure.
very personal things, and I'm absolutely grateful for your time and for your
I
book.
appreciate you too, and I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful to you, Alex. Thank you. And yeah, when I do have another one, I will make sure to send it to you, and we could do this again for sure. Yeah. So when the
Thanks.
song is out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please
Yes,
let
I
me
will.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, so have a nice noon
Thank you. Same to you, Alex. Have a good
and
day.
bye.
Take
Bye for
care.
today.
Bye.
Okay.